Why I Quilt. Plenty of people have quilts in their families. This is one that I made to celebrate my in-laws' 50th wedding anniversary. I pieced the blocks and sent them out to family members to sign and add their birth date. My in-laws had 10 children and 68 grandchildren, so that was a lot of blocks to sew, signed, and returned to me. Amy LaValle in the Milwaukee Post-Tribune said this about family quilts. Not only are they beautiful works of art, but they reflect the person creating it and what is going on in their life at that time. Use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. Little bits of usable fabric scraps were saved, and these eventually were made into little patchwork designs and then put into quilts. Some people only think about pioneer quilts and quilts that were made by the people who were settling America when our country was becoming a nation, and they think that it's no longer a pertinent craft. However, in womenfolk.com article titled America's Quilting History, America's Quilt Revival and Bicentennial Quilts, 1960 and 1970, they stated, in 1976, there was a resurgence of quilting as we prepared for the U.S. bicentennial. People made quilts, and not just Americana quilts. They wanted to look back to their roots and learn the things that their ancestors did. Quilting is a sewing technique. Sometimes it's referred to as making a quilt sandwich with 2 layers of fabric and some insulating layer between for additional warmth. But a quilt is more than just a covering for a bed. Quilts can be made to acknowledge events and occasions. While making this type of quilt, thoughts and emotions can be stirred up and events can be remembered. Charity quilts can show love and concern for people during their hard times. Some of the different types of gift quilts that I've made were a 70th birthday quilt for my mother, the 50th anniversary quilt for my in-laws. I made an 80th birthday quilt for my stepfather, baby quilts, and graduation quilts. I've also made charity quilts for Project Linus. Project Linus provides handmade blankets to children up to age 18 in the U.S. who are ill, traumatized, or in need. According to Craft Industry Alliance, in their 2022 survey, they stated the average quilter is a woman in her 60s who is retired and has a household income of above $65,000. I think it's because quilting is expensive and time-consuming. My mother taught me to sew and how to make quilts. I had hours of sewing lessons and quilting lessons. Quilts are not a quick DIY, do-it-yourself project. It takes years to learn how to do all the parts. I love the way I feel when I'm making a quilt for a specific grandchild. All the while I'm making it, and during every part of the process, I'm thinking about that grandchild. I remember specific experiences that we've had with that child, their accomplishments, their failures, the successes. It is not uncommon for me to spend not just days, but weeks making a quilt for an individual grandchild. Quilting is a process that I value for how it makes me feel. I value the process. My time is valuable, but I think that when you care enough, you make it yourself. Yes, making a quilt is an expensive project and it's time-consuming, but I love the process. I love choosing the perfect fabric and pattern and design, but for me, it's about the feelings and the remembering and the doing. Quilts tell stories. They represent things happening in our lives. They depict times and places and events that need to be acknowledged. They don't just represent the receiver, but also the lives of the people who are making them. It captures in time. I make quilts because they are important to me. They are a statement of love. As I am making a quilt, I acknowledge how it makes me feel as I am piecing the blocks together. I spent hours while working on a quilt thinking about the recipient and what they mean to me. I love to quilt, and I love my family, and this is my way of showing love. This is a quilt I just about have finished for my granddaughter who's going to graduate from high school soon. I love to quilt.